Yeah, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Foundry VTT from the ground up. And in our last episode, we got the camera working to show you how that works. Oh, this is the GM edition, by the way. And the reason for that is because I'm kind of doing these side by side, and I want to use this actual instance for the players. So the player is going to be just a little while before we actually have another players, because we want to get the whole rest of this one set up. So this is GM's edition. So anyway, in the last episode, the last episode we had, we got the camera working, as I said, and we also talked about a scene and all the different options within the scene. How you can have it, just show plain, I guess, unidentified, so to speak, text here, where we have the actual text here and such. And we talked about all the different things, setting up a grid, and all our different options as far as lighting and stuff like that. However, that's not all the options. So what we're going to do is kind of shift from coming over here to over here. And we're going to kind of peruse through these guys over here. So let's just begin at the top and work our way down. And we're going to be doing some stuff with our scene directly in just a little bit. But this first icon, which the player will also be able to see, is basically playtime. This is runtime when you're actually doing your game. This first one is the selector. You can highlight, you can click on individual things and select them. This one that looks like a little wheel, or some might think it looks like a target, is selecting targets. So if we have that one and we click on an enemy, it will automatically select them. And then this last one right here is for measuring. So if my token were here and I wanted to see how far this guy was, to see maybe if I could throw a dagger, I can just click on that and go, oh darn, I can't quite throw 75, I can only throw 60. So I will know I can't do that. However, of course, with a short bow or something, I can definitely hit. So that's just your measurement tool. You can drag those wherever you go. Left click to, left click from the starting point, and just hold it, and then once you release, it's gone. So that's this first area, and this is in the player's view as well. The next one that's in the player's view as well is this little guy that looks like kind of a two rulers, like a square, and these are your different measurement controls. So with your measurement controls, we can do a circle, for a blast radius kind of thing. We can say, yep, it is a 20 foot or 20.5 in this case. If we want to be more granular, this center point right here, we can actually double click and it will give us more information about that. It will tell us what type it is. We can change it here, or we can drag another, so we can change it to a cone. Once we hit update template, it will go ahead and change that. We can see where the coordinates are for it, the X and the Y. We can see the direction. That would be where this little knobby, I believe, is. That's where we dragged it from. Angle degree, of course, with this it's a circle. It's not going to have an angle or degree. That would be more with your cone shape. Then we have the distance. So we have 20.5 here. If we want to say, no, I want it to be 20, we can actually fine tune it right here. We can set the width of it. As you can see, we have the little border here. We have the fill color. It automatically grabs the fill color from whatever you set your main color to be. And then you can also put a template in here. I don't think I have any. Maybe at one point I'll see if I can find some that we can actually do it. So if it's a fireball, it might have a template background of, a fireball explosion or something like that. So you can have that. So if we hit update, you'll see it shrunk it down just a tiny bit to give us our perfect 20-foot radius. If we click on that centerpiece, we can move it wherever we want. So like you can hurry and draw it out here and then say, yeah, I'm going to lay a fireball right here. It's going to do 20-foot radius. Even though it's laid down, you can actually still click on this little guy. Oh, actually, Maybe you can't anymore. Yeah, because there's not a selector one. I thought you could, maybe I'm thinking of Fantasy Grounds, where when you lay something down. So anyway, there's that. So we have our circle template right here. Let's go ahead, click on it once and hit the delete key and it's gone. Our cone, same thing. If we want to say it's a 15-foot cone, as you can see right about right there. That's what a 15-foot cone would look like. If we move this up to a square here, you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. Once again, this time we'll actually have our angle. So if we want it to be, say, a 45-degree angle, we can change some of these other stats. Everything else the same. Click template, and you'll see that even did worse. So that's the angle of everything. Let's set it back to 50, and maybe make our distance, it's just under 50. It looks like it's just over 15. Let's see if 15 gives us the right thing. Kind of. Usually it'll put one right here as well, and there. But anyway, so there you go. There's your 15-foot cone. If we were to, say, rotate it direction, let's change it to 0, and there we go. That was probably the big thing. It wasn't centered in there. So if we, depending on where we are in our little squares, you can actually see kind of what it does. So go and click on that once, hit delete, go and look at the cube or the square. So lay down a square, exact same thing here. We can change the color. If we really wanted to change the color, we could do that. If we went a little too far on one of these, we can fix that just by changing it so it's a perfect square. So we could say that the width is, say, 35. Since it's a square, we only need one of them, I believe, and it should fix everything because it's 35 by 35. So there we go. There's our square. Go ahead and delete that one. And then, of course, we have our line. So, you know, if we have a lightning bolt that we're sending out and it only goes 30 feet, we can actually do this. I really need to start putting these right where they begin. And there you can see there's your template for that. So that's also available to users when they're playing. They'll be able to do that. This next one is not available to users. This was only for, and this one will, if we have lots of these things out here, I forgot to mention this. So if we have lots of these guys out here, like so, we can click on the trash can and we'll get rid of everything. So anyway, this next one is tiles. These are things that you can place on it. So once again, this icon, you'll see it lots. This is the select, so we select all tiles. This one right here is to place a tile. So if we want to place a tile, we just click and put it basically where we want it. I don't remember if I have any tiles. Let's go see if we have in images. Worlds, bare bones. Let's do assets and then images maybe. I have portraits and props. We want a prop. Oh, I have a lot of props. So let's say we want, let's do a magic circle. So go ahead and choose that, scroll down, hit select. And once we do that, now we can change the XY coordinates. It should automatically use this coordinates, or not the coordinates, I mean the actual width and height. Our Z index is kind of your, well, it's your Z. It's the how high up. So if you were looking at layers, it would say how high. So if I have something of Z index 100 and then I do something 110, it will actually be above that. We can look at that if you want. We have a rotation and the opacity on it. And then, of course, we can have a tint on it. So if it is, say, a picture of a campfire and we want it to be a magical campfire, we can make it a color. So let's go and do that, and there you go. You can see we have our tile. We can select it. With this, we actually have the little handle. We can go ahead and shrink it, grow it. If we hold shift, it will, is it shift or, no, it's not shift. It's alt. If we hold alt, it will constrain the proportions. So it'll automatically do it. In other words, we can actually make it really oval, you know, vertical, horizontal. But like I said, hold alt and it will actually constrain that. So then you can place it and you can delete it if you want. If we double click this little yellow knob, we'll be able to see everything else. We're not going to get into the overhead or the animation right now. If this were a video, like if it were a little WebM type asset or something like that, we can actually have it so that it's constantly looping. The overhead is so that if a tile goes under it, you can make it fade, go away, so you can make it just disappear. There's various options. We're not going to do that right now. We probably will jump into that a little later on, but that's your options there. So that is the tiles. Now, one word of warning is if you have a boatload, like if I have a tile of a tree and I spam it all over the place, it's going to end up taxing the system because it has to render every single one of those tiles. There are some mods out there that will actually allow you to take all tiles and merge them into a single tile, which will be a lot better on your system. So just be careful with your tiles and how many you have. You know, if you have a dungeon, don't go nuts with all the little skeletons or bodies and stuff like that, because it will tax your system. So we're going to go ahead and delete that just by clicking on it, or we could select it like so and hit delete, and there we go. So this next one is the tile browser. So if we have tiles, we can actually see these are the tiles that I had. So you also have the option, like let's say we have a chest, we can just drag it into our scene and there it is. If we highlight it, we get those same options where we can change the tint. So if I don't want this to be quite that color, and tint isn't going to completely change it, but let's say I want to make it just a little bit darker, we can actually maybe find a nice kind of brownish color that's a nice dark brown like so, and now you'll see it really takes on it. Unfortunately, the gold's going to take it and everything else because it doesn't know how to distinguish between parts of the image. So there we go, back where it was. I think, yeah, that was pretty much everything here. Rotation, obviously, if we say 45, it'll kind of go diagonal. But you can always click on this little guy. Isn't there? Nope, I'm thinking of Foundry again. So if you know what your angle is, you can just type that in. I thought, it doesn't seem to do it, but I thought you could actually use one of the hotkeys or something to actually get it to rotate. I could have swore that was in here, but I guess not. And then this one down here is the foreground layer. We can, enable, disable that. Excuse me, to hide the tokens in the foreground layer. The next icon we're going to look at is going to be this little pencil. And the pencil is, as you might have guessed, a drawing tool. This is also available for your players. What's our time at? We're at 14. We're doing okay. So the pencil is also for drawing. So your players will be able to do this. Once again, when we draw something, the default is going to be whatever our color is there. We can always change it. If you see the little handle here, you can click on it, and we can change position information here, the z-index, the rotation, the height, the width. If we wanted to make that a square, we could just change that to 200, and that's 200. This is the position in the map where it is. This is the author. Obviously, that's me. So now you can see we have a nice perfect square. We can also change the line. We can change the line width. We can change the stroke color, which is that line we're actually seeing. We can make it less opaque, so it's more invisible. It's between a 0 and 1. A lot of our settings are going to be between 0 and 1. I know a lot of people are used to things being like 1 and 100. This is basically the same thing, except for you're just doing it between a single number and you're using decimals to do that. Smoothing factor really isn't going to do much with a square. I mean, I don't think it's going to make it any more round or anything like that. But when we draw our line down here, we'll be able to see that. Then we have the fill option here where we can set a fill, so we can actually have it be a pattern fill. And then if we know what pattern we want, we can go, let's say, let's try that one maybe. And go down, select. And we can also do our fill color. So if we don't want it to be that same color, we can actually come in here and change it. Let's make it kind of an orangish color. Something like that. Sure, why not? And then, of course, we have our opacity, which right now it's at about 50%. The final one is text. So if we wanted to have this labeled, we could actually do this and say T-E-X-T. T-E-E-X-T, because I know how to spell. This is our font size. We can change that to, say, 24 or something. This is the color of the font. So we could change that to red. Right, and then hit update drawing. Now a lot of times I've found with text and stuff, if you hit update drawing, it might, when you try and move it, it loses it for some reason. If you hit enter, and mostly that might be on text, because apparently doing enter here doesn't, oh, there we go. So now you can see there's our text. You can actually see there's our pattern inside, and it's kind of got a reddish orangish hue to it. There's our text in the center. Perfect there. I kept that a pretty good square even though I didn't have to. So there we go. There is our square. Now our circle is going to be the same thing. With our circle we're going to do something just a little different. We're actually going to fill it with a color. So we're going to go ahead, double click this. Position, all the same stuff. Lines, let's change our line just to show that, you know, you can choose your own colors. Let's do a nice yellow, maybe 255, 255. Get a pure yellow out of that, and we'll leave the line opacity there. Smoothing factor, once again, isn't really going to matter. We'll get the fill. Let's go ahead and do a blue. Nice blue color. In fact, we can make a pure blue by doing a 0 there. And you can also, I forgot to mention, you can actually click on this. Like if I wanted to match this blue here, I can click on the little dropper there, and then whatever's in the center of that square that's there will be the color, and you'll see it selects it. If we come up here, we can actually get our perfect blue. Do that. We're not going to have an image. We're just going to have it filled with our blue color, and we're not going to have text in this one. So let's go ahead and update our drawing, and now you can see perfect our thing there. This one right here is our draw a polygon. So when you're doing this, you're actually kind of drawing a line here, and then it's going to have a line. So I held left click while I went like that. I'm going to go ahead and do that, that, and that. And if you right click, it undoes your last one. Forgot to mention that. And then when we come to the end, we double click, and that will go ahead and complete it. Now, if actually, you know, before I say this, I'm going to double check it because I could swear it didn't work if you do this. So let's go ahead and we will drag here, here, and double click here. I don't think you can fill an open thing. I'm actually kind of curious to see if we can. So once again, all our options are the same. We're just going to do this as a quick test. We're just going to leave it solid, hit update. It actually completed it for us. I wasn't 100% sure it was going to do that. But there we go. That's that one. This is the one that we can do that smoothing on. So if I'm drawing, and this is just free drawing, you know, if I'm doing this, Now we actually, I'm gonna have to select it. There we go. I'm going to double click it, and if we click on the smoothing on the lines, we'll actually be able to see something. I don't know if it's real time. Doesn't look like it. But if we do that, you'll see it made it more jagged, so it's more precise as to exactly how I moved the mouse. And then if, of course, I move it this way, it's going to round out almost all the corners to, you know, so that all those jagged parts, it's going to be straight lines to the, you know, next point that was registered. Then, of course, as I mentioned, we have text. And this is the one I said to be a little weary of. When you place your text, you want to click on it and drag. Whoops, let's get that out of the way. For our text, we want to click on it and drag. This is a bounding box that is not seen. So if we do our text here, we can double click on the thing. Once again, we have all our same options. I've never tried to fill text. I imagine that will fill the box behind it. The line will actually draw a line around it. But what I wanted to mostly talk about is this. We could call this, we call this elf song, ELFSONG. So we can call elf song here. We can go ahead and change the font, Arial Black if we want, do 26, change the font to nice green. If we want pure green, we get rid of that one. And it's here that I found that if I try and move this after, there is a chance that it will revert back to new text. Now, it seems like if you refresh your scene, it sometimes will pick it back up, but I'm not going to guarantee that. But once we're here, if we just hit enter, now you see we have the elf song. I can actually now shrink this down around that size or whatever. But if I actually click on the elf song, sometimes when you move it like this, it will switch and say new text. I don't know 100%. If it actually changes for everyone or if everyone sees the regular thing you had. But that's something we're actually going to test once we get the player part done. This next part right here is if you don't want to double click this guy, you can actually click on that and it will pull up the exact same boxes when we double click that. Actually, I'm lying a little bit. This is the default configurations. So when we click on this, when we click on this, it's the default configuration. So if we wanted, we could actually change it so that when we do, you know, text, it's always going to be, you know, 24, right? And then if we say configure the default, now if we go lay out a text here, you'll actually see it's at 24 size instead of 48. Once again, we have the trash can. This will get rid of all the drawings on the current scene. So we're going to go ahead and click that, click yes, and boom, they're all gone just like that. Now this next one, these next two, actually maybe these next three, because we're at 23 minutes. I think this is a pretty good place to stop because these three right here are going to actually take longer. Because this first one is your walls, windows, you know, obstructions, things that obstruct vision. These will affect your line of sight. The light here is your lighting, obviously, and then this is music or ambient sounds and stuff. This last guy down here is the bookmarks. When you are as a player, you pretty much only have the select and then this one that says show bookmarks. The bookmarks are actually journal entries, which we're going to talk about in a little while. So we'll probably cover that, but in the next episode, I'm hoping we can cover all three of these. In fact, we might even do it backwards because this guy's going to take the most. We could do this one and then this one, and then if there's time in that episode, we'll do the structures or the wall configurations. So I think we're going to leave it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. And hopefully you found it useful. If you did, Be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Helps me tremendously on YouTube. Makes my videos get seen by others. And, you know, of course, that's going to be good because then we can grow the channel and stuff. But if you enjoyed, like I said, leave a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord and my other channels, and don't forget to tell other people about my channel. Have them check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. We can grow the channel. Everyone's happy, and we just have this giant Tasmanian family. So that is it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.